the 27-man roster for the friendlies and then what will become the 26-man roster for the Gold Cup has been announced this morning by Mauricio Pochettino and the U.S. men's national team. It's 27. It's going to be 26 after the friendlies. I assume one of these goalkeepers will be dropped, but man, an interesting squad no matter how you look at it. Let's just be clear. We're not going full strength here by any means. Christian Pulisic being left out because he asked to be left out after playing so many matches over the past 2 seasons. Totally understandable. I could see why that happens. I've seen a lot of people giving him slack for it. The Gold Cup's not going to make or break this U.S. men's national team. I'd rather him have a break now, play the entire year next year, whether it be for Milan or another club, and be ready for the World Cup, than play a bunch of meaningless minutes against the Gold Cup. This is a player who only goes 100% when he's out there. So, can understand Pulisic. Anthony Robinson, it appears, also probably asked to be left out after a very busy summer, and a player who, my guess, is looking for a transfer from Fulham this year after they failed to make European football, and his chance for one big move, wants to stay fit for that. But nonetheless, a super, super interesting squad. Some exciting younger players to watch, including Alex Freeman, who's a player who many of you may not know that I think could really make an impact for the U.S. men's national team during this camp, make an impact for the U.S. men's national team potentially at the World Cup next year. So let's just get right into it. We got the goalies, Schulte, Steffen, Turner, all who we expected. Freeze, obviously that fourth option as well. If you were going to bring a fourth, it would probably be him. I think he'll be left off the future roster for the Gold Cup because one player does need to be cut. Let's move right into the defenders, though. Max Arfson, that's a player that we know Mauricio Pochettino likes. A wingback, very comfortable on both sides. Not truly a defender, I don't think. To me, the way I see this is Max Arfson's going to be the starting left back and get forward a lot, the way that we see Anthony Robinson get forward and really keep the width of the pitch. So I think Max Arfson will play left back off the rip for most of these matches. As you can see, I have a bit of formation going here at the moment with Arfson at left back. We'll get into that in a little bit with some tactics and whatnot, but we're going to go through the squad first. 24 years old. He can play on both sides, but if you look at this squad, you have 2 right backs, 2 left backs, 4 center backs. So that's the way I see it organized at the moment. But nonetheless, Max Arfson, I imagine, will play at left back mostly. Sorry, that was incorrect the way I was looking at it. These are the 4 fullbacks. Max Arfson will play left back. Serginho Dest will play right back. Freeman will play right back. And DeJuan Jones will be that backup left back. Serginho Dest, as we talked about a little bit already in our preview to the squad, he was going to be involved because Pochettino has not had a chance to have him involved yet. So it's key to see him in this squad. If he wasn't in this squad, I'd be worried that he's not in Pochettino's plans because he won't play a ton of minutes, and I think that's actually really exciting that he probably won't play all the minutes because he's still making his way back from full fitness. And hopefully we will get to see a chance of Alex Freeman, 20-year-old player for Orlando City. Last year in the MLS Next Pro, he had 8 goals and 9 assists for Orlando City. 6'2". Plays really comfortably, inverted, really likes to get forward, but he doesn't only like to get forward as an overlapping right back. He's very comfortable doing that too. Excellent crosser of the ball. Really look out for this player. This is a very, very exciting player. But he's very good inverting as well. Likes to come inside, likes to receive, likes to drive at defenses. And I think he's a player who will be very, very good in this side because of, again, and we're going to talk about these tactics, but when we get in possession, this is a player who can keep the width out here if necessary. But also, if we were to have, one of these 2 guys drop into this back 3 as we've seen so much, so you kind of get Arfson coming up here, maybe you get Cardoso dropping in, you could see Freeman, says Des right now, but assume it's a right back, you could see Freeman coming in right here and being very comfortable as an inverted option as well. Super strong defender, super strong going forward. So an exciting young player. If we're going to bring MLS players, I'd like to be bringing players like Alex Freeman, a 20-year-old, not necessarily some of these other names on here like Sean Zawadzki or Miles Robinson, DeJuan Jones. Like, these are players that we know who they are. They're not going to be players at the World Cup, so not the most exciting to me. Moving down the list, DeJuan Jones, obviously, as I just mentioned, 27-year-old left back from San Jose. For those of you who don't know, he'll be the backup left back in this squad. Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, whatever Miles Robinson. I mean, again, I think, to me, I'd rather have seen Trusty or Cameron Carter-Vickers, players who have been great for club, but we're not sure how they fit in for country. I don't know what to make of this. My original reaction is Pochettino doesn't really trust them at all. And so their lack of inclusion is not necessarily just a rest thing, but maybe to find other players he may trust more, like is Miles Robinson an answer for the World Cup squad? He'll be 29 next year. And Tim Ream. I could have done without Tim Ream. I mean, I know he's a leader and a captain and all these things, but he's a known quality and probably one that needs to be phased out sooner rather than later. Into our midfield options here for the U.S. men's national team. Tyler Adams, we expected him to be there. He'll be starting in the center of defense alongside Johnny Cardoso. I can guarantee you that. Sebastian Berhalter, obviously the son of Greg Berhalter, has now represented the U.S. men's national team since he was in the youth squads at 16 years old. So he hasn't played for a USA squad since the under-16s. 24-year-old midfielder for Vancouver, having a really good season, having a great season in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. 3 goals and 2 assists in 8 matches. He's really, I would say, a double pivot type of player. He can get forward decently well. 3 goals and 2 assists. Likes to try and win the ball high up the pitch. A good presser of the ball. Not an overly exciting player. 24-year-old midfielder. Maybe this is his chance to try and, earn himself a spot. I'd probably rather see Aiden Morris at the World Cup or Gio Busio than Sebastian Berhalter. This is just a very heavy MLS side. I would have rather seen some of the European players who are not necessarily high up on Pochettino's radar than these MLS players. But here we are. This is the squad he's named. It's an interesting one for sure. Going down the list, Johnny Cardoso, we've spoken so much about. He'll be in that double pivot as well with Tyler Adams. There's no doubt about that. That's your preferred double pivot. Luca De La Torre moved to San Diego this year. Again, a known quality, someone who doesn't excite, who doesn't really have a preferred position for me that makes sense in Pochettino's squad. He's not athletic enough to cover the ground of being in that double pivot. Doesn't really provide much as a 10. Really not excited by him being called up. Diego Luna, though. This is going to be a Diego Luna summer. And I'm going to talk about the formation a little bit. It's hard because him, Tillman, Jack McGlynn, who I'm about to talk about, all kind of like to play in this number 10 role. I think I'd like to see Tillman there the most because for the World Cup, this is an opportunity for Tillman to make this place his own. So Diego Luna, yeah, I could see Diego Luna actually somewhat falling into this position a little bit if we are trying to attack, kind of getting this position up here a little bit more. So if Diego Luna was going to receive in here, and then you kind of get this pivot here of Adams and Dest, and Arfson maybe becomes Alex Freeman, who can play a little bit off the left in this kind of 3. I don't know. I don't love the profiles that are involved here. But nonetheless, Diego Luna is going to play a lot in this camp, no matter how you spin it, whether it's as a sub or whether it's as a starter. Again, we're going to get more into the tactics once we go through this squad a little bit more. Jack McGlynn. Jack McGlynn's a 21-year-old attacking midfielder for Houston Dynamo. 2 goals and 3 assists this season. But to me, the thing about Jack McGlynn that makes him very exciting in this camp is his ball striking. We all have seen his goals. His left foot is an absolute wand. And we need that type of kind of luck creation in order to be a good side in these major tournaments. Think about all the sides I've kind of had these Cinderella stories. They play really well on the counter, and they often score kind of these goals from nothing. Even teams like, remember that Netherlands squad that made a World Cup final? They were obviously very talented. I'm not comparing us to them in terms of talent, but they weren't expected to get that far. They had a lot of these moments that were built from nothing. You need to be able to score from nothing. And Jack McGlynn, that's his specialty. That's what makes him Jack McGlynn. That's what makes him even an exciting player in a lot of ways. So I like the fact that he's in this squad. Probably not a starter for me, but somebody who can kind of create something out of nothing, can play off the right wing if necessary as well, but really likes to operate in those half spaces as well, cutting into that left foot kind of from the right half space from this area in here. So if you were to get in a situation where Freeman was starting and he's going to overlap a little bit more, and you make Aronson into McGlynn, kind of get this little pairing in here in the half spaces of McGlynn and Tillman. That to me is kind of exciting in possession. Tillman loves to drive, obviously a great shooter from outside the box, but just an all-around creator where McGlynn can kind of operate in here and make a little bit of magic happen, hopefully, with his opportunities. And then finally, on the midfield, obviously mentioned Malik Tillman and Sean Zawadsky, who I'm not going to lie, I don't know a lot about. 25-year-old player for Columbus. Again, like, if I'm going to the MLS right now, I'm not really looking to get players in their mid-20s who have never done much of anything and putting them in this side. That doesn't excite fans, and I don't see a world in which Sean Zawadsky is making the World Cup squad. So these are kind of the confusing ones for me. as far as making this roster for the friendlies and, of course, for the Gold Cup. On to our forwards. I will just say, looking at this, I was excited not to see Josh Sargent. But on the flip side, to see Brendan Aronson doesn't thrill me either. I know he played a lot for Leeds this year, and he honestly had a good season, but we've seen what he's done under Pochettino already for the U.S. men's national team. He doesn't fit into the squad. I actually currently do have him as our starting right winger, and I think it's interesting because the way that this squad has been crafted in this, just in terms of the way that it was put together, this image, in terms of who's a midfielder, who's a forward. So to me, like Malik Tillman being put as a midfielder, right? So that means Pochettino sees him as a 10, but Brendan Aronson being put in the forward area. Same thing with Quinn Sullivan being put in as a forward. These players who are, I think, most comfortable as number 10s usually, probably being seen as wingers. So that's why I have Brendan Aronson as our starting right winger, because look down this list. Who else is going to play on the right wing? Patrick Adjumang, true center forward. Folarin Balogun, yes, he can play kind of on the wing, but this is our starting 9 at the World Cup, so he needs to be playing center forward. Damian Downs, the truest of all the center forwards here, probably. Quinn Sullivan likes to play through the middle, but I guess he'll be an option off the left and right. Same with Brian White. And then you have Haji Wright, who I guess is being seen as our starting left winger here. Quinn Sullivan, worth mentioning, is Kevin Sullivan's brother, for those who don't know, plays for Philadelphia. 6 goals and 14 assists over the past 2 seasons. Really more of a creator than a goal scorer, so he'll probably be in the list of potential wingers as well. I'd assume that's where we're shaking out here with this forward group. Let's move over to our tactical board here. So this is how I see the starting 11 for the first game of the Gold Cup, for the first match. I don't know for sure. Some of these are probably movable. I think this back four is pretty locked in based off of, I think, Tim Marine may start. Let's just be honest. Tim Marine may start. I'm going to continue to push that we need to see McKenzie and Richards together. That needs to be the starting center back pairing at the World Cup. They need as many minutes together as possible without overrunning them. So I'm going to keep pushing this propaganda that this is the center back pairing. Dest, I don't think will start every match. I do really hope to see Alex Freeman play here. Very, very interesting player. 20-year-old, as I mentioned, 6'2" fullback who's super technically comfortable, super comfortable inverting and overlapping. Truly an interesting profile who's really risen up in Orlando City's ranks very quickly. And then Max Arfson, I don't want to see DeJuan Jones. As much as possible, I don't. I'd rather see Dest play some left back with Freeman on the right, which I think we may see. And I think Alex Freeman could also play out here. He's played a little bit there at younger ages. But Max Arfson, truest one-for-one, like with Anthony Robinson, that's in this squad. Again, why bring DeJuan Jones over John Tolkien or Caleb Wiley? I can't wrap my head around that, especially John Tolkien. Like, John Tolkien made the effort to go on loan this year to Germany in the winter transfer window to try and get an opportunity to play for the U.S. men's national team. Really should have been rewarded. Him and James Sands both went out and did this, and neither of them get rewarded. I know Sands is injured, but it's not really sending the right message for me. I don't think Pochettino is sending the right message to the youth of the U.S. men's national team when he's bringing players like DeJuan Jones, Sean Zoadski, Brian White. Like these types of players, to me, I don't really know. Even like Luca De La Torre. Luca De La Torre leaves Europe, comes to San Diego, has been mediocre at best for San Diego, and gets into the side. I really don't feel that Pochettino has gotten this. I'm starting to get worried about Pochettino for sure. This is going to be a huge summer for the way that I think about this U.S. men's national team and the way that they're going to go about the World Cup, because he's really gone out on a limb with this squad in a lot of ways. Adams, Cardoso, thank God they're playing together. Like this four right here, and even you can include Tillman in it, this kind of core up the middle, we call it a spine, even right through here. Turner, McKenzie, Richards, Cardoso, Adams, Tillman, Balogun. This spine, to me, is the spine of the World Cup side, even with Dest. So, like, yes, we don't have everybody. We don't have McKennie. We don't have Weah. We don't have Reyna. We don't have Anthony Robinson. We don't have Pulisic. Like, yes, we're missing 3 starters here for sure, but you still have a lot of the core of this World Cup team. So we have a good idea of how it's going to work out. The issue for me is these winger profiles don't really match up that well with the way that I think Pochettino wants to play. I have Aronson here again. Like I have Aronson here. I'd much rather make this Diego Luna for so many reasons, but to me right now, this is probably how it's going to shake out. Maybe you see Tillman push out wide and you see Diego Luna through the middle. Maybe you put Haji Wright out here on the right, but he's really more comfortable on the left. Maybe it's Quinn Sullivan. Maybe it's Jack McGlynn. Anyway, we've talked a lot about, obviously, the way that this formation looks, but we'll go over it one more time. So in possession, this is out of possession. Out of possession, you're going to have Balogun pressing out here, Tillman up pressing through the middle. Tillman's a very, very strong presser. You'll probably try and force that ball out wide as much as possible. That's how Pochettino likes to play, with Haji Wright and Aronson kind of pushing up here. Adams will be this first ball winner, trying to kind of get in these passing lanes, win the ball up high, create these transitional elements, and then Cardoso will sit a little bit more as the controller in front of these guys. Arfson obviously kind of kicking into here at times. This is kind of what the out of possession will look like sometimes. It's really a bit flatter here, but Arfson and Des, when they want to take their risks, will pop up. And then in possession. So you win that ball back up here. Adams is immediately pushing up. Tillman will drop back in right, and you have Arfson overloading. But then if you're building up from the back, what that's going to look like is probably a little bit more like this. Excuse me while I get this together. We got Richards, McKenzie, Cardoso probably over here. Arfson pushing up wide. See, that's the issue with Haji Wright on the left, right? It's like Haji's coming in here a little bit more. So it looks like something like this. That's not super exciting. So maybe you do, maybe this is Diego Luna. Or maybe, you know what? It's probably Tillman here. Luna in the 10, and then right off the right type of thing. I mean, you could see something like this. I mean, ideally to me, you want Tillman and Luna in these half spaces. This is where these two players are their best. But the main issue to me is Luna and Tillman both like this same area in the left half space. Go look on SofaScore. If you want to see what that looks like for Diego Luna on SofaScore, I can maybe pull it up here real quick for you. Let's see. Do you see it here? Not really, but nonetheless, it's really their heat maps are both in the same area. That's where they like to operate. But in possession, this is what it will look like for most of the time. Tillman and Luna. Again, this is not the most exciting going forward. Arfson will do well up here. He's really comfortable and he's good at getting up and down the pitch. Adams and Des. I mean, Des will drive in here. Cardoso will also pop in here at times. So you'll have these two guys switching here and there. You'll even see sometimes Des stay back a little bit more. And this can turn into even something a little flatter in possession a lot with something like this, where Cardoso and Des kind of show his options out here to break the press. Again, if we had a more comfortable goalkeeper, you'd probably see in possession Turner kind of popping in between here if we had a goalkeeper more comfortable with the ball at his feet. But nonetheless, I mean, none of it's all that exciting for this Gold Cup. I'm not thrilled with Pochettino right now. This is a massive summer for Pochettino. I've already said it, but the more you look at this squad, if he needs to implement the way he wants to play with this group of players, it needs to go right for him because there's going to be a lot of questions asked if the U.S. does not win the Gold Cup. He's chosen this side. Yeah, no Pulisic, whatever. That's not an excuse. He could have taken other players that would have made more sense, who could have been more exciting. Griffin Yao, just to get back to this, Griffin Yao with this side would have been so good. You go Yao here, and this all looks a lot better. You get a true out-and-out right winger. He has yet to play with a true out-and-out right winger. He's like to play Moose out here. But you need this type of profile when you're playing with this buildup. You need a profile who wants to receive out here and drive so that players like Luna and Tillman can gain space in the middle. When you get a player who doesn't necessarily want to drive, when this becomes a Brendan Aronson, and Brendan Aronson also likes to play a little bit more central, and then you have Serginho Dest, who also likes to play more central. This is what we saw so much in that Nations League semifinal match when we could not make anything happen. You saw so many people who were trying to play in the center of the pitch, all bunched up, nothing out here. Anthony Robinson found no space out here. It's not the best from Pochettino. We're going to have to stick with it. But thanks for watching Yanks Abroad. We're going to be doing live streams for the Turkey match on June 7th, the Switzerland match on June 10th, and moving on throughout the Gold Cup. We'll do a preview a little bit closer after those two matches to get a sense of what the Gold Cup will look like. Check us out on TikTok for player-by-player breakdowns of each singular player who's been called up into this training camp roster. And thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Leave a comment on your thoughts on my predictions here for the Gold Cup. And hopefully, Pochettino surprises us all and the U.S. handle the Gold Cup easily as they have done in the past.